It's happening again. Extra Life, the 24-hour gaming marathon where gamers across the world raise money for our local Children's Miracle Network hospitals. It feels good to do something we love to help kids, but it feels great to get closer through the magic of game. We enter as friends and leave as real-world heroes for sick kids everywhere. Sign up online. Extra Life. Play games. Heal kids.
Hey guys, welcome to Off Grid Minis. So, this week we had another one of our Castigators. Last week we did up the Prime. He's right there, still looking awesome. And this week we just have one of the regular Castigators. He has his helmet on. So, excuse me. So it's gonna be a little quicker this week. It won't be an hour long like last time. I don't have to deal with the flesh tone on his face, the Kislev flesh, doing that over Bugman's glow, and also the hair, doing the Mechanicus standard gray, followed by the white scar. Don't have to worry about doing those. So yeah, it's a shorter episode again this week. Not maybe as short as the Corn Blood Letters, but definitely shorter than an hour. So I do apologize for cutting this week's episode into a few parts. There's a couple reasons for that. First, I was just trying to find the right angle, because I find where I had it before, it was just too far away. You couldn't really see the progress I was making on the model, or not very well at least. So I tried an angle, found that my head was covering it too much, tried a little bit different one, the same thing, and then I finally found the angle, and then I started fighting with my camera's battery, or my phone's battery, which I use to film. And so yeah, it just became a process of a whole day trying to keep my phone charged so I could record, and just fighting with angles trying to get the right one. But I hope you guys enjoyed how it turned out. So I'll have the angle figured out. It'll be in that spot from now on until I get something better. And yeah, it hopefully won't be cutting as much in the future. Not like I have been these past 2 episodes. And before I get into my tools, I want to talk a little bit about Extra Life again. So game day is just under 2 weeks away. I'll be doing my 24-hour stream where I'll be painting up some of these guys. I got the Mephitic Light Hauler that if I reach a certain goal, I will build up and paint during the stream. And I also got a couple little D&D miniatures, some halfling rogues that I'll be painting up. But basically, what Extra Life is a not-for-profit charity. It works together with Children's Miracle Network. There's quite a few hospitals all over the globe that are connected with Children's Miracle Network, and they work together. All my donations go to BC Children's Hospital, because that's where I'm located. And yeah, 100% of the proceeds go to helping children get better and fight new diseases and research, and just building new wings in the hospitals as well, just providing that better care that they need. So yeah, every year, the first weekend of November, there's a stream day. Hundreds of streamers around the world take part in it. And every single one of them, 100% of the proceeds go to their local Children's Miracle Network hospital. But yeah, it's just really a great cause. It's an awesome community. Go check out some of the other streamers who are a part of it. Just check out the website. I'll throw my link below for my page. I mentioned putting it in an annotation last week. Unfortunately, I'm not able to do that at this moment, just because I'm not a YouTube partner yet. I don't have as big a following as I need, but I'm getting there. But now, on to paints and tools for this week. Same tools as always. I got my brushes. The ones I used mostly were my starter brush and my small layer brush. I did use this guy for basing a little bit. That's just from a brush kit I got from Staples. Not necessarily cheap, but not as expensive as the Citadel brushes. But it works for the areas I used it in. I also have my makeshift palette, my pot of water, my paint guide, my cloth, and I also use a headlamp. Where other people will use magnification to see their details, I use light. And it seems to work out for me. And lastly, we have our paints. So, got quite a few paints again this week, not as many as last week, but for the black areas like the cuffs of his armor, the black areas of his gun, the recessed areas, I have Abaddon Black. Rakarth Flesh is for the sash on the back of his cloak there, as well as the front of his tabard and the back piece above his cloak. And then Cantor Blue, of course, I used on the back of his cape or cloak and the shoulder pads. Corax White, I used on the front side of his cape or cloak for that bright white for the base coat. Then Mornfang Brown, I used just basically on the pouch on his hip, and also a tree root on the base. Celestra Gray I used just for the pillar he's standing on the base. And Wachflesh, of course my green, was just for the leaves on the ground beneath his feet. Mechanicus Standard Gray was for the ground tiles, the stone tiles he's standing on as well. Retributor Armor, of course, was for the gold areas of his armor, as well as one little strip on the crossbow and a little ornament hanging on the back of his cloak. Rhinox Hide I used for the edges of the base. Instead of using the ash gray battlefield grass, because the edges were already raised above the center tiles, I figured that would recess the center too much, so I just painted it instead. And I also used Rhinox Hide on his belt, which you're not going to notice very much, but you will see it a little bit. Then Lead Belcher was for the details on his crossbow. Where else? There's just a couple other little details I used that on. I'll talk about them more in the outro. And then Mephiston Red was for the back of his tabard and the crystal at the end of his crossbow bolt. Then I have my shades. Seraphim Sapia went over the Rakarth Flesh areas and the Celestra Gray on the pillar he's standing on. I also used it on the Mechanicus Standard Gray on the tiles on the ground. Then I used Nuln Oil on the black areas and his crossbow, the black and silver areas of his crossbow, and then the black on his arm guards. Then Drakenhof Nightshade, I used that on the blue areas, like his shoulder cuffs and the back of his cloak. And then Reikland Flesh Shade was for all the gold areas, and I also used that on the Rhinox Hide around the edge of the base. Then there's Wild Rider Red layering. I used it on the edge of the back of his tabard and also the corners of the facet of the crystal on his crossbow bolt. Then Administratum Gray I used on the edges of the black, as well as the edges of the pillar. Excuse me, on the base. And White Scar, lastly, I put over his tabard and the bit of cloth draped over his shoulders. Again, the White Scar was coming out fairly rough. I found mixing it with water did help a little bit, but I think I mixed too much water in, so I'll try less next time. See how that turns out. And for doing big area covers like this, I'll also try using a larger brush. And lastly, I used Thunderhawk Blue on the edges of the blue areas like his cape and shoulder pads, and Necron Compound on the edges of the gold armor, as well as some of the details on his crossbow. Just some of the silver areas. So that's it for this week. It again is a shorter episode. I have it a little bit more figured out, and I hope you guys enjoy. So let's get to painting. guys, well, that's it for this week. We got an awesome little mini here. Again, I ended up fighting with that white scar. I tried to put it on like a layer just on the edges, but my layer brush was fighting with me just like it did with my second corn bloodletter. It just kept catching and causing blotches, but I did the best with it that I could, and still got a little battle, an awesome battle-worthy model. You may also notice the top of his crossbow broke off. I'm just going to roll with it, say it was damaged in battle, but he still uses it. He's attuned to it. But yeah, I did manage to get the white scar to come out a little more smooth this time, so I am on the right track with the water. I just have to use a little bit less, I think, and just figure out the brushing technique for it. I don't know what it is about white paint, but even on the back of my pot, where you get dried up paint, usually it's rubbery, flexible, and the white scars, just like chalk, it breaks apart easily. It's just something to do with the white pigment and what they use for it. That's something I can't control. I'll just learn to work with it and figure out what I can. And right, the other areas I used the silver on was just the little decoration hanging in front of his tabard. I said I would mention that in the outro, and I wanted to make sure I remembered. And lastly, be sure to check out Extra Life. I'll throw the link down in the description. It's just an awesome charity. Again, 100% of the proceeds go to BC Children's Hospital through Children's Miracle Network. It's tax deductible, so you get a receipt in the email. And it's just an awesome cause. We got to keep kids alive. Got to keep future generations going. But now it's on to figure out what we'll be painting next week. Oh, and be sure to drop by the stream on November 2nd to 3rd. I'll be going for 24 hours starting sometime on the morning of the 2nd, and I'll go till the same time on the morning of the 3rd. Or 1 hour earlier, because I believe it's time change that night. It usually is. But now, onto the roll. We do have one Castigator left, but since we've done those for 2 weeks in a row, I'm going to omit him for this week. And we'll, if I roll a 5, which is his number, I'll just re-roll. As well as if I roll a 15, which was what the last guy was. And as well, the usual rule, if I roll 2 1s, then I'll re-roll a d6, and that will tell me if the result is a 1 or 2. So, here we go. I got the behemoth out again. 23. Alright, let's find this guy. Let's see, 24 and 22 right there. 23. We've got another corn bloodletter. And just another standard guy, nothing special about him, so I will be doing the bronze blade. But that concludes this week. I'll contribute my bad luck with the layering to it being episode 13, of course. But hopefully that goes a little bit better next week, and I'm able to bring this guy to life just like I did with the last two, but with a little bit better edging technique. So again, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Be sure to check out Extra Life. I'll drop the link down in the description. And I'll see you next week. As always, stay blessed.
Gamers should be able to do the things they love to help sick and injured kids as well. And so the funds that Extra Lifers raise can go to a variety of purposes in the local area at the local hospital.
So maybe your extra $20 or your extra $50 goes to curing 87% of children with leukemia.
62 kids like me enter a children's hospital every minute.
And I was one of those kids. You could save their life too.
Play games, heal kids.